Have you ever wondered what it would be like to bounce on a marshmallow? No. Well, here's your chance to find out. Welcome to the story of the star dad who traded his gravity for a hug. Once upon a time in a distant galaxy, far and away, there was a little alien named Glorp whose dad was called Zarnok. Every year on Earth Day, Glorp would gaze longingly at the blue marble hanging in the black velvet sky. That's right. On this planet, kids were taught that Earth was just a myth, a fairy tale told to keep little aliens dreaming. And Glorp dreamed of one day visiting that planet and seeing what a real Father's Day looked like. His dad, Zarnok, worked as a gravity engineer in Galaxy Sector 9, which meant he could manipulate gravity fields. In fact, it was because of his job that Glorp had never set foot on Earth since intergalactic travel was strictly forbidden, especially when it involved sentimental junkets. Kids were only allowed to visit their own sector, period. The rule was put in place after the Galactic War of Sentimentalism, when parents got so homesick for their planets that they almost blew up the universe trying to get back there. Ever since, the Galactic Federation patrolled the sectors, keeping everyone safe and making sure no one traveled for anything other than utilitarian reasons. But this didn't stop Glorp from dreaming. Every year on his birthday, he would ask his dad to take him to Earth just for a day, promising to be very good and not make any trouble. But every year, his dad would shake his head sadly. He still remembered the pain of homesickness, how it tore at his heart. He didn't want his little boy to experience that. So instead, he'd tell Glorp stories about Earth. How the grass was greener and the sky was bluer than anywhere else in the universe. How the dads played catch with their kids and took them stargazing. Stories that sparked hope in Glorp's eyes and made him long for a place he'd never seen. One day, Zarnok came home from work to find his son sitting quietly by the window, staring at the stars. Usually, Glorp was full of energy, running around the house, knocking over furniture, and generally being a happy little alien. But today, he was uncharacteristically still. It broke Zarnok's heart to know that his little boy was sad. So later that evening, while Glorp was sleeping, he went out to the junkyard behind their home and started working on a top-secret project. For weeks, he scoured the junkyard for spare parts, collecting broken spaceships, disassembled ray guns, and discarded spaceship engines. Then, using his gravity manipulation skills, he built a small, personal space pod, just big enough for him and his son to fit inside. When it was done, he hid it behind a large asteroid, hoping his wife wouldn't notice. You see, building an illegal interstellar ship wasn't exactly a good way to keep your marriage intact, but there was no time like the present. Zarnok had to get his son off this planet before anyone noticed. Using a piece of cloth, he wiped down a dusty old book and found an ancient map made of compressed stardust. It showed the location of the gravity swap zone, a place where a father could give up his gravity so their child could land safely on another planet. All Zarnok had to do was fly straight ahead until they saw a shimmering light in the darkness. Then he'd have to give up his gravity. As soon as his son was asleep, he opened the hatch of the ship and whispered, "Glorp, we're going on an adventure." And with that, they shot into the starry expanse of space. The map led them through asteroid fields, past comets and shooting stars, and finally to a small clearing between galaxies. There it was, the gravity swap zone, a place where gravity was traded like currency. A father gave up his gravity, and in return, his child was granted the ability to have one. Zarnok looked at his son and smiled. Now, he understood why the fathers on Earth wanted to give up their gravity. To be able to hold their children, to feel their tiny hands and tiny feet, it was worth giving up anything for that. And so he did the unthinkable. He gave up his gravity. With a final kiss goodbye, Glorp watched as his dad turned into a shooting star and disappeared into the vastness of space. Then he focused on landing his ship on Earth. It was beautiful. He bounced on soft grass, kicked a soccer ball, and watched as it floated away into the clouds. He rode a bike without a helmet, without a seat or a saddle. It was amazing. But as the day wore on, he started to miss his dad. Suddenly, the absence of gravity didn't seem so fun. He sat down on a nearby hill and stared up at the sky. It was then he noticed a bright light coming from behind a cloud. And as the cloud drifted away, he saw a familiar face. It was his dad. But how? Giving up his gravity meant he should be floating around in space forever. But here he was on Earth, smiling down at his son. But as soon as Glorp waved, his dad vanished again. Turns out Zarnok didn't actually have a choice in the matter. You see, when a father gives up his gravity, he's not really giving it up. He's storing it in reserve to be used when his child is in danger. And unfortunately, Glorp's joyride had come to an end. The anti-father patrol had arrived. These ruthless galactic enforcers were out to punish Zarnok for committing the crime of leaving his sector and stealing his gravity. They chased after him as he flew through the atmosphere, dodging buildings and trees. Finally, he spotted a large wormhole, a natural phenomenon that allowed travelers to teleport short distances. Without hesitation, he launched himself into the wormhole, swinging as high as he could. The Anti-Father Patrol fired their weapons, but it was too late. Zarnok had vanished. Meanwhile, Glorp landed safely at a nearby comet gas station, where everything was powered by dad jokes. Why don't scientists trust atoms? Because they make up everything, he giggled. His laughter fueled the ship and powered it through the atmosphere until finally they reached their destination. A nice park with plenty of children playing and having fun. Glorp spent the rest of the day playing with other children, sliding down a rainbow slide, climbing a chocolate chip cookie tree, and swinging on a tire swing. But even though he was having fun, he still felt something missing. Looking back, he realized that the best part of the day wasn't the food or the games or the swings. It was simply knowing that his dad had given up his gravity so he could be there. Later that evening, when Zarnok was floating gently in the upper layer of the galaxy, he looked down at his son and smiled. He might have lost his gravity, but he gained a new perspective. From up here, he could see the entire universe, watch over his son, and make sure he was okay. Plus, it wasn't like he couldn't come back. He could always ask another father to trade gravity with him. As the years went by, Glorp grew up and eventually started his own family. He became an excellent stellar engineer, inventing new ways to bend gravity and explore the universe. He also started building a gravity bridge, a device that would allow him to bring his dad home. But until then, he kept his dad's memory alive. Every night, he looked through his telescope and whispered, "He's still with me." And every year on Father's Day, he sent letters to the stars, each one folded into a paper comet, carrying messages of love and gratitude to the dad who'd given up his gravity for a hug. And that, my friends, is the story of the star dad who traded his gravity for a hug. What would you do if you had a chance to meet your dad in space? Let us know in the comments below. Also, we have a ton of other fun space adventures and magical tailies on our channel, so click the link in the description to subscribe. And remember, the more stars you collect, the more wishes you get. So keep watching and collecting those stars. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.